Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Welcome back to the Liberal Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Bodhi Papula, and with me I have Andy Gibby Gibson.
Did you just skip all over
I
Kaylee's
did.
usual-
We're missing the ever lovely Kaylee Horowitz, so y'all know what time it is. It's the dudes.
Call us Thin Lizzy because the boys are back in town. We say this as if like there's a mystical magical quest that Kaylee's on, but like no, we're just splitting it up to give everybody like a little summer break here and there where it's like two people.
Yeah, it's summer vacation time. I took a little time off unintentionally last episode.
We talked about how you got, trapped in the Phantom Zone. You heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said send him to Detroit, and they put me in chains, and they kept me there for a few days.
No, anywhere but that. So, if I can ask, how did you entertain yourself in Detroit?
I didn't. So I got caught up in the they called it the global tech outage. Got caught up in that. Got stuck in Detroit for 5 days. Which was not cool.
My guy, my family lives in Michigan, most of them in the Detroit area. I've never spent 5 days in the Detroit area. I was wondering, how is he going to, pass the time?
Well, I ate a good bit of pizza.
That helps.
Detroit pizza, pretty good.
All right, rank it. Chicago.
I will.
New York,
nope, not gonna take a stance.
All right, that was the only correct answer. So you passed the test.
I'm 100% neutral. I saw the Detroit Museum of Art.
Hey.
Which was nice. It was fine. It was a pretty sweet museum. And then I stayed in my hotel room for 4 days.
Detroit is. I think it's getting there. People forget how bad things really were about 15 years ago or so, where it was just like, hey, all the auto companies are gone. I guess we can go fuck ourselves then. So it's been a long rebuilding period. Mm-hmm. So there's only so much entertainment like that exists. But give it 5 to 10 years, and I think it's going to be, your normal big city again.
I think the biggest issue was I wasn't there intentionally, right? I was stuck. So I did, on top of thinking of all the money I had to spend extra I wasn't planning on. I also just wasn't happy to be there. Detroit, give me another reason to come by. Until then, hard pass.
Yeah, it's not Detroit's fault that a couple of nerds pushed an update on a Friday and fucked over the entire world. But Detroit can only do so much to help you in that case,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not football season. It's not hockey season. It's just nobody's going to a Tigers game. Let's be honest.
I tell you what season it is.
Yeah.
It's the season of summer.
Summer!
I'm about to share an article with you.
Oh, surprise article. Surprise research.
Yeah, surprise article. We'll call this segments because we're a segment show now.
Okay.
Two dudes discuss the song of the summer. 2024 edition.
Okay. All right. The song of the summer. Okay. My initial leaning was Chapel Roan, as shown by this article. Just about any Chapel Roan song could be the song of the summer. But then I see her picture right next to Kendrick Lamar. Right next to motherfucking K-Dot, and I'm just like, oh, they've got a point.
So I read this article earlier today, and I came to the realization it's like, I only know two of these songs, and I only know who two of these people are.
Okay.
So this is what it's like being 31.
Yeah, we're well into the case of so we're not the exact target of culture all the time. Most of the time we are, but then you look at the Bonnaroo lineup and you're like, I've aged.
Who the fuck are these people?
You just turn to dust in fucking Indiana Jones.
What songs do you think will be? Because this is a Rolling Stone article, by the way. Shout outs to Ethan Millman of the Rolling Stones.
The Millman always delivers.
The Millman's always grinds it. Always on the grind.
If I had to guess, it would probably be Hot to Go.
Okay.
With like the.
Who's that by?
That's by Chappell Roan. That's the HOTTOGO. Mostly because
the scary looking lady who's like a.
She's a drag queen. Leave it be.
Okay. Yeah. That clears up a lot.
Basically, her superhero origin story is that she was raised by drag queens. Like,
understood.
Take like Martha and Jonathan Kent, except put them in West Hollywood. Well, she's actually from like Missouri, but the lore. So she's a drag queen, so she often brings drag performers, and like fuck the people who think like, oh, she's an industry plant. No. She was hanging out with like the underground drag queens of New York like in 2018 before it was like part of pop culture in the way that it is now. She's legit and she's very fun. So I'd say Hot to Go.
Okay.
Only because I kind of almost felt like the whole Kendrick saga was almost more of a spring thing. Whereas
the Kendrick versus
not like
Drake.
Us, the Kendrick versus Drake was a lot of spring stuff versus Not Like Us was, I think, either late May or early June. But because of how powerful it's been and the grip it's had on clubs and bars everywhere, it's like continued to roll on to the summer, like to it becoming one of the main fixtures of the LA Juneteenth celebration. And
that was weird.
And the music video dropping on July 4th. So it's had staying power, but I'm probably going with Chappell.
Okay.
Is there a definitive answer in here?
So this guy hit my brain the exact right way. He did it by number of streams. So not by vibes, which like a lot of people do, which basically turns into folks picking their favorite song that's also happens to be popular. This guy said, "Nope, I'm going to the data, number of streams, whichever has the most." And he got a top 10.
Hard data
list.
Facts.
Hard data. I love that shit. I'm all about it. Okay, number 10. Charlie XCX 360.
It's Brat Summer, baby.
Okay. I have to call out some motherfuckers because I heard that phrase and I asked a question. I was like, I don't know what brat means in this context. And everybody who I was with at the time made fun of me and laughed at me and called me an old man. This lady's a year older than I am.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, do you recall a certain song featuring Charlie XCX that goes by the tune of I Don't Care, I Love It?
Oh, is that her?
Yep, that was like 2014. That was a generation ago. Olivia Rodrigo wasn't even born yet. It's been a while, so it's kind of like, you're a 32-year-old lady, but hell yeah, you have like all of the 15-year-olds are like that. That's the vibe of summer.
It's like, you're the voice of our generation. It's like, we're not in the same generation, bud.
She's having to consider never being able to own property. That's the generation she's in. Just kidding. She's rich.
Number 9, Tinashe. Nasty.
Tinashe.
I don't know this song.
Neither do I. Keep it going.
Number 8, Billie Eilish. Lunch.
Yep.
This is just about her eating another girl out, right?
Inconclusive, but probable. if we're going by Mythbusters terms. Which is how I've been.
We're the Mythbusters here today. Can you actually eat a girl for lunch?
It's frowned upon in most countries.
But we've rigged the legal system for this day only. All right.
Okay.
Number 7, Chappelle Roan. Good luck, babe.
Yep, we were vibing with that in the car when I was driving with Kaylee and Ian. So
yeah, Kaylee was singing this all week, and I had no idea what she was referencing.
Oh yeah, it's a good bop. It's not the song of the summer, but it's a good one.
Shout outs to Chappelle Roan. Looks good in fishnets, man. Good
Chappelle.
Chappelle Roan. Number 6, Sabrina Carpenter. Please.
She's
I have no idea who this lady is.
She is another one of the I don't know how to say it any better than like recent pop blonde ladies who are pretty good at singing.
Hell yeah.
Where if you showed us a picture of her and Renee Rapp, there's a chance we would confuse them. But she's pretty good.
Number 5, also Sabrina Carpenter, Espresso.
I'm an old man, and if that song is popping up on my feeds and I've heard of it, then it's a candidate for Song of the Summer. It's got enough delegates to be on the ballot.
Number 4, Post Malone and Morgan Wallen. I had some help. I know who Post Malone is. I do not know who Morgan Wallen is, and I have never heard either one of their music.
You've heard Post Malone because he was featured on the Into the Spider-Verse song.
I wasn't paying attention to the music in that movie. I was watching the movie.
Fair enough. Morgan Wallen's the guy who was supposed to be the musical guest on SNL, and then he got COVID, and then he was supposed to be the guest again, and then there's a video of him saying the N-word. So
Post! No!
Not Post, Morgan Wallen.
No, but Post like collabing with him.
Well, that's also not good. So here we are.
I like Post Malone. Damn it.
I'm sorry to tell you, man. This is also the same industry where Lady Gaga in like 2011 or 13 or whatever did a collaboration with R. Kelly. Things get overlooked and it's not good.
Why can't I just have nice things?
Because
number 3, Shabuzi, a bar song. Parentheses, tipsy.
I have no idea, and
no idea. He looks very happy.
Yeah, he's got 410 million streams, wouldn't you? Do you think he's going to start frowning because Sir Shabuzi is like, oh, the crushing ordeal of being known? No, look at him. He's vibing. He's having
I think he's going to start frowning when he realizes 410.5 million streams is like $4.
And the IRS is still just like, hey, we need like 3 of those.
We're going to need like 350.
All right.
Number 2, Tommy Richmond, $1 Million Baby. This is one of the songs I had heard right before it exploded on TikTok.
It's one of those that you'll hear as you're passing by the American Eagle in the mall.
Yes. It's a pretty good song though.
It is pretty good.
I'm fortunate enough I'm not like I don't fucking hang out with people, so I'm not like out in the world often enough.
I've seen your Instagram. Get the fuck out of here.
I'm not in like popular spaces often enough to where this song.
You were hanging out at like the LA fucking planetarium with a group of 6 cool looking people. I will not let you pretend to be.
There's no music
king
there.
Of the introverts.
And then number 1, y'all guessed it. Dot fuck 'em up. It's Kendrick Lamar, Not Like Us.
You know, I think what is really going for this song, as well as, you know, the fact that a lot of people fucking hate Drake is, is the fact that like it's a funny song. I remember the first time listening to it, and as soon as he hits A minor, I'm just like, ah! that probably didn't go through on Discord, but that's fine.
I got the energy of it.
You got the vibe. You'll hear it in post.
I have a hot take. I don't like that song. I think it's fine.
Sorry to tell you, but I think you're gonna get banished to Canada.
Yeah, obviously I'm wrong. No, I was just there.
They're literally a bridge apart.
I just pop back in Detroit. I'm like, no. No, I understand that I am in the minority. Unlike Drake, that's not true. That's a mean thing to say.
I can only laugh at these things. I cannot comment on any of these things. It's not my place.
I understand I'm in the minority of that. I think yeah, the A minor quote is very, very fun. Rest of the song is just, it's a pretty good beat. DJ Mustard doesn't miss usually. But also the song's just like really mean, and I'm not a Drake fan, but I'm like, leave Drake alone, y'all.
It's also like the third time that he's actively murdered Aubrey, like in this like 6-month period.
Well, yeah, 3 songs in a row. I am uninterested in 40-year-old men writing songs about each other. And B, I'm uninterested in, because the whole idea was J. Cole and Drake said, yes, us 3 are the best rappers in the world. And then Kendrick Lamar said, no, fuck you guys. Which is so petty.
But is he wrong?
Statistically? Like, again, if we're going numbers, maybe. Probably. I don't think he has more hits than Drake does.
Yeah.
Most people don't have more hits than Drake does. Yeah. I don't like any of those songs. I like the ones from 2009. But
God, that feels like a different
different era
ago, man.
Yeah.
Like
Take Care was a fun album. It's a good album.
Him with the Tony Montana set up on the album cover.
Hell yeah, fucking right is a bop, bro.
Oh man, I was just listening to some. Boy, do I sound extremely Caucasian when I'm saying I was just listening to some Kendrick discography earlier, and I was listening to Good Kid, Mad City, and I thought,
it's a good album.
Boy, is this awkward because Drake is featured on this album.
Yep. That's poetic justice, right?
Poetic justice, where it's just like, did y'all know? Did y'all know in 10 years?
They had beef because that's something Drake does. He starts beef with a rapper he thinks isn't as good as he is. Or isn't as popular as he is, I should say.
Yeah.
He did it with Pusha T. He did it with Meek Mill. He's done it with Drake or Kendrick Lamar before.
He starts to push somebody, and they're just like, "Hey, by the way, you've got a secret child
that
you're embarrassed of."
Well, he does that. It caused rap beef that gets him in the news, and then he releases an album. The album does numbers, right? Pusha T was maybe the second to murder him with, we know about your secret baby. And then Kendrick Lamar was you're uncool and you're not me.
And then he levels up where Drake just gets on that like, I'm gonna get you, get you, and Kendrick's just like, oh, let's fucking go.
Kendrick Lamar does my favorite thing in like when you're arguing with somebody, when you're fighting with somebody. He's like, I'm going to say one thing that I know makes you very mad. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to change it up. I'm just going to say it over and over and over again. Then I'm going to go into concert and get LeBron James on stage and say it 7 times.
I'm sorry, it's just so petty.
It's so petty, but it's so funny.
It's so fucking funny. It's so mean. Honestly, tell me after like the texts between him and like Millie Bobby Brown dropped that you haven't been wanting somebody to embarrass Drake for a long time.
Oh yeah. No, it's funny. It's super mean and I feel bad for him. It's also fucking hilarious. Like both things can be true.
Oh God. All I know is they're just like, so we got an open spot on Degrassi if you want to come back.
All right. We're segue. So it's a Bodio and Gibby episode.
That means we're going to talk about some niche nerd shit.
Hell yeah, brother. And we only have 2 niche nerd shits that we're experts on. It's Venture Brothers are wrestling, and guess what, baby? We're back to Venture Brothers.
We're back, baby. We're so fucking back.
We're so fucking back. Radiant is the blood of the Baboon Heart. I always want to say Radiant is the Baboon Heart, or Radiant is the heart of the blood of the. It's too many words. It's too many words. Doc Hammer. Point. I know that was you. I'm so mad at you.
But here we are anyway.
Please come back, Jackson. Doc, please. Please, I would like.
It's so cold and dark out here. All I have is smiling friends. I don't even know if it's good. It's all I have.
I don't like it. Anyway. Radiant is the Blood of the Baboon Heart, for our lovely listeners, is a movie made by the creators of Venture Brothers, Jackson Public, Doc Hammer, basically finishing out the series. Their 9th season?
I believe
is it season 9 or season 8?
See, there were a total of 7 seasons. It feels like there were more because last year marked like 20 years of the show.
Beautiful. Their 8th season got canceled during COVID. Zablov, go fuck yourself.
I don't even remember if it actually was him. That could.
I think that was actually before it was. I think that was actually before it was him. The sentiment stands.
Well, fuck him anyway.
Fuck him anyway. WB, please give us a sponsorship one day.
You can now listen to the liberal artists on Max. Or whatever we're calling it these days. Who gives a shit?
We've decreased the name to just be M.
Give us $40 a month. Go fuck yourself.
And subscribe to...
And subscribe.
But it's basically the what we got instead of an 8th season of the Venture Brothers, and also the final piece of media that will come out. The final piece of like film, television media that will come out for the Venture Brothers. Gibby watched it on Max. I watched it on YouTube, which was awesome.
Oh, no. I got it on YouTube as well.
Correction. We both watched it on YouTube.
They don't get any more of my money.
Yeah. Fuck Max. Please sponsor us one day.
Hey, man. Venture Bros is coming back to Netflix. So, like, who gives a shit about
Yeah, we don't need you. Netflix. Hit us up.
Another giant, potentially evil streaming network. But hey, whatever. They've got The Last Dance, so who gives a shit?
We watched it. We loved it, obviously. But we're also extremely biased.
This is a thing that's only going to appeal to a tenth of the audience. But, you know, sometimes you have to do things for yourself.
Yeah, I think it's still worth reiterating because we did that episode a while ago. Gibby and I both very much so recommend Venture Brothers. Gibby says watch the whole thing. I say start at season 2. Either way, you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, and honestly, some of the season 1 stuff is better than we give it credit for.
Very true. Very true.
But at the same time, like, there's only like so much lore from season 1 that you really need to know. Like,
yeah.
Do you even remember the episode where during like the Christmas party Krampus invades?
Yes.
I barely remember the plot of that episode is what I'm saying.
I think they bring it up once. But...
there's some episodes of season 1 that are just like, oh yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
But then there's also like one of the biggest ones on Gargantua 2 that we didn't know was big for like 15 years.
Until the special. But anyway, I think there's, because if we want to run into the world of like the theming, synopsis, how do we feel about it? It's fucking great. Go watch it. It's a good movie. It's only like an hour 20, I think. Yeah.
It's animation. It's crispy.
Yeah. 100% extra crispy.
Yeah. It's a good double fried.
I think when we talk about what this movie means in the overall, just like overall how Venture Brothers progresses, because I think the special you were just referencing is called You, Me, and Gargantua 2.
All this in Gargantua 2.
All this in Gargantua 2. Thank you. This movie feels like that, right? Mm-hmm. Which I remember when this movie first came out and you and I both watched it immediately. We both said that it's like, it feels like this was just a special and there's going to be another season in like a year or two. But I also think that speaks to how Public and Hammer have developed in writing Venture Brothers as a story, right? I can't remember which one of them is quoted on this. It was one of the two. But they said when you're young and you're writing, you write shit that's shocking and it sucks because you think the world is shocking and it sucks, and that's just what you see. But as you get older, you get more interested in telling stories. You get more interested in exploring and deep character depth and whatnot. I'm butchering the quote. I don't feel like looking it up.
Basically, you write depressing shit when you're young, and then you get a little bit older, and you're like, "Oh, this isn't so bad after all."
Yeah, or even
a little happier.
Or even the question becomes, "Yeah, this is depressing. What do I do next?" Or so what? You have to keep going. Yeah, cope. But
don't seethe, just cope.
But I think we could see that with a lot of the character arcs in this show, because this movie is what they had planned for season 8 condensed,
which is a tricky thing.
So it's like I think there's a lot of interesting takes though, because we do get to see characters. We don't get to see them get to the next step, but we get to see the next steps they've taken, right? Dermot, we see like post-military training.
It's just like the first character we're gonna mention is Dermot.
Yeah, Dermot. He's the one true Venture brother.
Oh my god. Oh my god, you're right. Oh, that's horrifying. Wow, I have in like 10 years of watching this show, I've never actually thought about.
He's the only Venture who hasn't died. That's crazy, right?
Oh God, I thought you were making some offensive statement about like in vitro fertilization, and I was just about to be no, wait, what are you saying?
I do not. Liberal artists approve of in vitro fertilization. The dude's episode.
I thought you were about to pull off your mask, and it turns out that you're KIV. Old lady Ivy, what are you doing here?
Governor Mima is not allowed on the podcast.
Governor Mima will never be allowed on the podcast.
No, but
like like you were saying, like we see where Dermot is. We see where people like Billy and Pete are.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of people who have already had like any character development already resolved.
Mm-hmm.
The question really remains with Hank, Dean, and the Monarch. Are the three principles that I say get resolved. Doc is Doc at this point. Like, what's going to change? Yeah, and you know, Brock is Brock at this point. What's going to change? Like, but those three right there still have a lot of like unresolved like history about themselves, as well as like mistakes they've made and like the choices that they need to make in order to really reveal who they are as people.
Yeah, because so the movie picks up where season 7 ends, where Dean has slept with Hank's girlfriend for some reason. So Hank walking in on his twin brother and his girlfriend post
with a massive concussion
during
being
a snowstorm.
Let in by Scare Bear.
Yeah. Serena, that's her name.
Yeah.
Runs off into the night and never not to be seen again. We then see him running back home to Colorado from New York. To solve one of the series' biggest mysteries, because Venture Brothers is a series where they've been really good about the lore. Really good about tying loose ends, stringing together pieces that were maybe one-off gags or weird side plots. But one of the big things is like, hey, who's Hank and Dean's mom? Which Hank goes back to figure out, because that's kind of Hank's MO. He runs off and he does shit.
Yeah.
And he figures it out.
It's funny to look at like the arcs, because for so very long, Hank has been like the rock solid character. Like he knows who he is, even if that means having like multiple sides and personalities and characters of his own, which we do get to see. We get to see, like, as you know, shown in his mind, he gets to talk to him as the detective, him as the Russian gangster, him as the Bat. So we get to we've known Hank for so long, and he's known himself for so long. Even when like major reveals get shown to him, usually he's pretty stable. But this is the first time in a long time where he's been thrown off of the course. Like, think about how in like seasons like 4 and 5, well, like 5 and 6, Dean has been the one who has been wondering, like, oh, what am I? Woe is me. I'm some freaky clone / Highlander thing. What's going on? What's wrong with me? And Hank was always just like, cool.
Yeah.
Versus this is the first time where it's like the development is like on the shoulders of Hank, which is such an inversion of what we've like seen for like years.
And so while he's going out, and I guess that's kind of treated as the B plot when it should be. I kind of view it as the A plot because that's the more interesting.
It's
journey.
Hard to kind of tell sometimes with Venture Brothers, like what is the A plot and what's like the B plot, because they usually all like intermix and mingle, or oftentimes there isn't a B plot. So I don't know. That's an interesting from like a story perspective. That's an interesting question of like, I think the emotional weight is behind Hank, which would leave me to believe that that's the A plot, versus like there's so much action going on with both Rusty and the Monarch storyline.
Yeah, the Monarch storyline, and by extension, Dr. Girlfriends as well, because we kind of pivot from one of them to the other pretty seamlessly. Is the Monarch finally becomes the villain he wants to, so he can just fuck with Dr. Venture's day to his heart's content. But it turns out he's not allowed to because they might be related.
So they're basically bungled with bureaucracy once again, which is the antithesis to his character. He wants to hate, plain and simple. He doesn't even remember why. And really, the reason that he finally gives and reveals after all this time is pretty flimsy. And like, he may say he knows why he hates Dr. Venture, but it's only once we like reveal the big secrets that it's like, no, that's why you hate Dr. Venture.
We can get into that, but we do want to say just explain the plot a little bit more.
Let's keep doing that.
We
get down and dirty.
Monarch wants to hench Dr. Venture. He can't. And the hot new supervillain organization shows up, and they say, hey, we'll give you free stuff and a cell phone and not look at your cell phone porn. Great joke.
They're just like the hot new tech kids on the block, which is something that hasn't always existed during the Venture Bros runtime. But I'm glad that it's been incorporated, because goddamn are there a lot of shady tech startups out there.
Oh yeah, companies that exist just to make a lot of money and then shut down. Basically.
Exactly.
Led by Mantilla.
I still don't understand the name, if I'm gonna be
I don't
here.
either. I looked it up and I couldn't find anything. Hold on.
I don't know.
I think it's just a name. Like, honestly.
I think maybe. But we only like find out who like her parents are like later on in the story, and some like flashbacky stuff.
Yeah, and we don't have to get like, if we start getting neck deep into Venture Brothers lore, we'll never talk about anything else.
We will. this entire podcast will just be Venture Brothers dedicated.
Yeah,
and Kaylee will be very sad.
But and then Rusty's Dr. Venture's definitely like the C plot, I would think, where he doesn't do much in this. He doesn't do much more than exist.
He's kind of like woven into the plot of Mantilla. Like, he's a means to an end, and he doesn't even realize that he's a means to an end. Until the entire skyscraper that he's in is in the stratosphere. So you're right. If anything's a C plot, it's probably that.
But overall, again, we mentioned the big secrets. That's really what this movie exists. It was to wrap up those big secrets.
Yeah.
Who are Hank and Dean's mom? And what is Doc and the Monarch's real relationship?
Yeah.
We find out Hank and Dean's mom is Mantilla, aforementioned, through a lot of convoluted means. Short version, in vitro fertilization. And the relationship between Dr. Venture and the Monarch. We're given the red herring of they both dated Mantilla, whose real name is Debbie Saint Simone. I'm gonna start calling her Debbie.
That's easier.
Yeah, they both dated. The Monarch thinks they both dated Debbie. Debbie cheated on him with Dr. Venture. That it was not the case. We then find out that the Monarch's kind of destined to dislike Dr. Venture because he's Dr. Venture's clone plus some baboon.
Which people were wondering how in the fuck, what in the fuck is this title of this movie? But when it's revealed by Ben, who's kind of the plot explainer,
it's kind of the Deus Ex Machina that they didn't exist. They didn't. No, because really, they didn't introduce him until season 5. Was he in there that early?
Yeah, the Halloween episode.
You're right. With the red helper. You're completely right.
Yeah, and the strange little like primate assistant thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's been around, and he's really the clue giver where if you do your research when he's talking about all the medical terminology going over the checklist with Dean, like he talks about the warning signs for,
aggression,
what created JJ, why Rusty's bald, and why the Monarch has like huge eyebrows and like, anger and everything. So it's been there. It just wasn't obvious.
Ben kind of serves as the universe's one like Tom Bombadil or like Mr. Rogers, where he walks in and he serves as that voice we were talking about earlier with the adult voice. Was like, yeah, stuff's weird, but everything's gonna be okay, right?
In like a cartoon supervillain world, he's kind of the only real person.
Yeah, and he's just like a chill dude who lives in the woods and just hangs out, does some super science from time to time.
We've got to start up a new counter for JK Simmons appearances on this podcast.
Can we just dedicate? Are we just gonna do like a JK Simmons seasons?
Welcome to the podcast.
5,000% crispy, please.
Ever since I saw Whiplash, I was just like, him.
He's so cool. Mr. Simmons, if you play Street Fighter, if you play any video games, if you just want to hang out, like, brother,
you can play Street Fighter, but only if you're screaming at us.
Use the fucking DP.
Counter? Why the fuck would I use a counter? For God's sake, they messed up this series ever since they introduced Akuma. It was only supposed to be M. Bison, nothing else.
Counter, I don't even know how many buttons are on this controller. How can
what the fuck is Seth? That doesn't make a goddamn lick of sense.
Why is he just
He only plays Turbo Edition of Street Fighter 2.
I'm here for it.
Oh, God. So, yeah, he's kind of he is the Deus Ex Machina, but, like, no, he's not even that. He's the normal adult in the room. Like, so we get that out of him. And he kind of works as a sort of kind of Deus Ex Machina of this movie. But we already knew that he was, like a supreme clone engineer and like medical practitioner.
Yeah.
Like
he's roboticist, and it's superhero shit. He gets to be good at everything.
He was Jonas Venture's like lackey, kind of, sort of. So he's been around the block. he's seen a thing or two.
Yeah.
I was about to quote Farmers Insurance ads with JK Simmons. Where he just
and then you realize he's in those.
Yeah. Where he just rolls up like, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. We are Venture.
Bum ba dum bum 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 bum. Bum ba dum dum go Team Venture.
God, please put us back on track. The JK.
I think talking about the movie in isolation by itself, I think obviously sticking the entire ending of a 20-year-old series into an hour and a half, especially when you didn't think the 4 hours you were going to get was going to be the end of it, is a monstrous task.
1,000%.
Much to the detriment of a couple of fan favorite characters. Shore Leave doesn't get a lot of time. Brock doesn't get a lot of time. Sphinx. The Order of the Triad doesn't get. The show could never quite find enough place for enough room rather for the Order of the Triad. Gary even doesn't get. He's like around, but he never gets like the solo time he usually does.
I will say we got more of, well, I guess the duo of the Triad than I expected, because like Dean's entire subplot is also with Dr. Orpheus and with Jefferson Twilight.
Yeah.
Like, really, they just kind of leave out Al for some reason, which is like, come on, guys.
Al's the best. Al. And to go where I was going with, even though there's like these weak points, it's still amazingly impressive how, again, we said we can't go into how much lore and how many tie-ins and all the cool little Easter eggs they placed all over the movie, because they filled it to the brim with as much as they could, and they did it expertly. I've watched this movie 4 times, and it wasn't until Gibby texted me at 7 a.m. my time, "Hey, did you know they put Brick Frog's backstory in this?" I was like, "What do you mean?"
I will say that, like, something that surprised me is, I knew we were going to have like the big reveals, the stuff that we've been waiting forever and ever to have. But somehow in the space of like an hour and 20 minutes, they also managed to expand on things that we didn't even know that we wanted to know. Yes, there's Brick Frog lore, but also consider the fact that we have only made mention occasionally of Force Majeure for decades. He's only popped up once in a while.
I've never actually seen him.
Yeah, we didn't even know what this guy looked like. But essentially, the Magneto of this world, like, was incredibly important, and they were able to take that little bit of lore that we know is important, but nobody's ever touched on before, and weave it into the story of both Hank's mom and also the Monarch's like reveals as well. Well, more his backstory and all. Yeah, the fact that they were able to come up with something that works for both of those major plot points, it's pretty impressive in retrospect.
And they were able to do this macro stuff, and like at the same time, it's like, bro, they gave Red Death's horse a name. Like, they explained the horse. I was like, that's not even something I questioned. I just thought it looked cool.
I don't know how they can be so good at taking so much stuff and cramming it in there and making it feel pretty natural.
Yeah, now, like completely organic.
Most of it. I will say that Mantilla's plot is a bit confusing.
Yeah. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
In order to weave all these things in, so this is my understanding of her like evil nefarious plot. Let's get rid of both Dr. Venture and the Monarch. So that finally the actual competent person in the room, Dr. Mrs. the Monarch, is freed up, so we can team up and actually do some cool villain
go
shit.
to business together as supervillains, which is very stupid.
Yeah, it's like you two have not known each other.
They've never even met.
Exactly. It feels a little odd. And then for the resolution just to be like, anyways, you want to go move to Canada? Sure, that'll do.
Yeah.
It's something that had they had that proper season, they probably would have expanded on and been able to flesh out more. That's the only part where I think like the wires get a little crossed.
Yeah.
And I will fully admit, I definitely missed on my first watch through of this that Debbie was the egg donor for Hank and Dean.
They never say it explicitly.
They don't. But when
she does say, because she donates her girly bits, as she says, or body parts, as she says.
I think she doesn't even get that specific. I think she says, like, I gave him some stuff that I wasn't planning on using.
Yeah.
It's just vague enough where it's like blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah,
you know?
But then you look at her and you look at Hank, and then they're both very much so. Oh, you guys are like ADHD, but you make it work.
Yeah, and also same nose,
same nose, same hair. Yeah,
exactly. Like there's a lot of Doc in Dean, but like there's a lot of Hank in Debbie. Like just something that I didn't pick up on. I thought like the reveal that was that like there never actually was a mother, and through like, you know, mad science shit and all of that, like Doc just created Hank.
Did you find that satisfying?
You know, at the time I found that pretty satisfying, but now knowing that like Debbie was involved in it, there's even like a little bit more of a resolution where it's like, oh, they actually do have a mom, but it doesn't matter because she's not part of like their lives.
Yeah.
So technically speaking, like Doc's very sweet line at the end of it where he says like, whoever gave birth to you loves you very much. Like that all put together, I think is a satisfying conclusion for like that element.
I was super mad about it until the last time I watched it. And Doc's line is very sweet. I was more caught by Ben's line where he said, choose your family. That he says to Hank when he gives Hank the watch. Was very nice. The other thing, we'll move on to big picture stuff. But the other thing that I find lacking in this movie, because we're talking about negatives because we have to say something because we have nothing but positives.
We fucking love this shit.
This movie is great.
Perfect.
Which like is beautiful in its own way.
Yeah, it really shouldn't be, because if it was perfect, you'd be suspicious.
Yeah,
something would be up.
Dean kind of gets away with murder. He doesn't get away with murder. He gets away with adultery. But Dean, I don't like Dean. I don't think somebody like me is supposed. I don't think somebody with my kind of personality is supposed to like Dean.
No. Well, let me ask you this: when was the last time that you liked Dean?
Never. I've never liked Dean.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I never was.
I've always been a Hank fan.
Same.
Like, and part of that isn't his fault in narrative. In that, like, Doc chose him to project all of his insecurities upon and to make him into like a second Rusty, whereas like Hank gets to be like boy wonder to Brock, so he's going to be more fun.
That's also like their personalities, right? Hank is an active character, Dean is a passive character, and that's very much so on purpose. But the one time we had Dean make a decision for himself, it's to have sex with his brother's girlfriend, and then we never hear from her again, and we never get a justification or a rationale or a reason. And I'm like, everybody's mad at Dean for doing this, and then the Hank personalities beat him up, I guess, which is supposed to be the punishment. But I need to hear from Dean, why did you do this? Right.
You know, I rewatched some of like the last TV season, and she really seems to be the only person in like Dean's like romantic life in like years and years that's paid him like any sort of affection or attention.
Yeah.
Like he like saves quote unquote her and the botany class from the Monarch. Like I think part of it that I would have liked some more resolution for is like, does Serena like Hank or just like put up with him for entertainment? Like think about that. Like he goes above and beyond all the time to like win her over.
Can I read
Does
you
that get
something that I
exhausting?
just saw
Sure.
on the Venture Bros wiki? I
Yeah.
don't like fandom.com. Whoever wrote this page, you're a hero. While Serena physically doesn't appear in Radiant as the blood of the Baboon Heart, messages from her can be seen in Hank's phone. Some of her messages are begging Hank to call her to talk about things and voicing concerns for her safety. So she does know, she does care, she's around. Venture Bros is the greatest TV show to ever exist. This is fucking sick.
I remember the creators talked about how they wanted to have Serena involved, but they just did not have time.
They didn't have time. Yeah.
They did not have. If they don't have time for shore leave, they don't have time for this. But we do get to see like Dean's, remorse and regret, like when he's talking to Hank while he's like in a coma and everything, which is a very sweet scene of them. Like we get to see where they started and like where they are now. And we do get a good bit of Dean suffering. I think if this had been, instead of a movie, a full season, we would have gotten more of that and there would have been more catharsis.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Dean would have
Jefferson Twilight gives him shit for everything.
I think we would have had 8 episodes where at least once an episode Dean gets kicked in the nuts.
Yeah, I mean the man thinks like think about this. From the drive from Chicago to Denver, he thinks that he's going to turn into a vampire.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine sitting in the back seat of the Bloodmobile, the vampire hunters like ride, and thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna get killed by Blade for like 12 hours or more. That's something. It's not perfect, but it's something.
One of the things you and I talked about is how most shows don't get expanding the conversation to not just the movie, but to like media in general, especially in like the era of streaming, the era of big business investment banks coming in, taking over stuff, making a bunch of money, and then dipping out.
Mergers.
Yeah, most series don't get this. I don't want to call it a privilege, but most series don't get the opportunity to finish their story, right? Even if it's not on their own terms. I think there is
resolution.
Yeah, they don't get to put out that resolution in the way that Venture Brothers did, and I kind of wanted to expound on that, to get your take on that.
Things are so flimsy when it comes to production in the streaming age, because you think that you're doing well and you've got like a small but growing fan base and things will get around through word of mouth, and all of a sudden after only 2 seasons, if you're lucky, it's over, it's done. Like, think about like all the shows out there on Netflix and Max and Disney Plus that just will never get that opportunity to resolve the character arcs, to answer the mysteries. Like, there's a lot of them out there that, like, even with dedicated fan bases, don't get that opportunity. And when they do, it's because people make enough noise to make a difference.
Yeah.
The main examples that you and I were talking about were Firefly, and that took years for them and like a fan campaign to be able to get a gosh darn hour and a half movie, like after they didn't even get their full season premiered.
Yeah.
Like think about like similar to this show, Metalocalypse, which had also started in the mid 2000s. Metalocalypse only has 4 seasons.
That's weird.
They have more episodes per season, but they only had 4, and they had a movie like 10 years ago, and they had been left out in the cold as well. But at least they get the resolution. They get to end their arcs and everything. Community's still waiting for that, and it may never happen because several people on that show are either too big for it or are assholes.
Yeah, I think Donald Glover and Gillian Jacobs might not come back for that.
They're just kind of like, do we need this?
It's like, I don't think we need this.
You all want 6 seasons in a movie. Do we need 6 seasons in a movie?
I think it's interesting, man.
Yeah.
Because, to your point, a lot of shows don't get to end on their own terms. I also think it's worth mentioning the opposite, because Venture Brothers the story is so tight that it definitely has a definitive beginning and an end. It has to. Well, it doesn't have to. They can keep it going.
It's just funny to talk about that when the timeline has been so flimsy for so long.
Yeah.
But there is. The start is Malcolm and Rusty.
Yeah, but at the same time, you also have these shows that haven't been allowed to end. Because I think of like the adult branded cartoons that I watched growing up that for some reason are still running. Like most notably Simpsons, King of the Hill, American Dad, which just for whatever reason, not King of the Hill, sorry, Family Guy. Simpsons Family Guy.
I was about to say, like, Bo, I've got some terrible news from 2011 for you.
Simpsons, Family Guy, and American Dad. All of which I started watching around the same time as I started watching Venture Brothers, which haven't, to their detriment, I think, exclusively to their detriment, haven't been allowed to end.
But those are situational comedies.
For sure.
So they can just persist forever, and they probably will.
But
will. I think the point that you're making is still correct. You can just look at different shows. Like, think about what they're probably going to do with Rick and Morty. They're probably never going to answer all of the questions because people are still buying the Hot Topic merchandise. So why would they ever end? They found 2 guys that sound just like Justin Roiland. So who gives a shit? Think about it. If you expand it to like anime, only now maybe will there be an ending to something like One Piece.
It's supposed to end next year.
I'll believe it when I see
the manga. A little One Piece lore for you. Back like 3 or 4 years ago, Ichiro Oda, the writer, said, they asked him, was like, hey, what is One Piece gonna end? Like, they just asked him, and he said, I plan on ending it around 2025.
Yeah. But for like a lot of shows, they will just continue going even after like the creators lose the passion or
Dragon Ball.
On new showrunners.
Yeah, Toriyama died last year, and they're about to release a new series.
I was just thinking of Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy is another one, right?
Let her retire.
Right, let her rest.
The next season of Grey's Anatomy should just be her first year in retirement, and she just goes to like beach resorts and everything.
At a certain point, Dr. Gray is just a skeleton in a rolling chair, and with like a doctor's coat on it, and they just like roll her into people's rooms.
They take an AI version of her consciousness and they put it on an iPad that they just let go around, and she's just like, my name is Dr. Meredith Grey and I'm in hell. But either way, like, you've got the both sides, the both extremes of like your storytelling of like, we either never get to end it because we never had a shot to end it, or we never get to end it because we won't stop making money. Yeah. Goddamn, please.
And I think all stories are worth being told as long as they have an ending, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm as sad as I am to see it go. I'm thankful that it got to go, right? It didn't just get axed.
Like you think about it, it's probably too morbid to think about it as like, you know, somebody who lived a really good life and has passed on
Sure.
now. Like, it's not in the same sense of like it was like premature or anything. Like, say, all the Netflix shows or something like Berserk, you know, which it's just like, well, now we'll never get to know. Like, it's a situation of like, I'm sad to see it go, but I'm both glad that it's not being prolonged past the point of our enjoyment and its quality.
Yeah.
And that on its way out the door, it turned around and said, oh, by the way, here's Hank and Dean's mom. And left with like, don't stop believing playing in the background as it makes its exit.
Hell yeah.
That's a Sopranos ending reference for you.
But yeah, man, that has been this episode of the Liberal Artist Podcast. Follow us on social media at Liberal Artist Pod on Instagram. Give us all the thumbs up on whatever you're listening to. Apple Music, Spotify, whatever. YouTube, like, comment, subscribe.
Oh my God, we've become those YouTube
Hell
people.
Yeah, brother.
We're doing calls to action now.
Editor Gibby, put that really lame like subscribe bell ring at the end of this episode.
And don't forget to hit the bell for notifications.
Don't do that.
I'm in hell.
Don't do that shit. Don't have somebody upload a YouTube video and then you get like a text message for that. That's fucking dumb. Don't do that.
Oh, hey, Donkey just posted a video.
Join us next time. Just join us next time. I have nothing more to say.
I have one thing to say.
Okay.
Go Team Venture!
Yeah. Peace.
The Liberal Artists Podcast premieres every other Thursday on your favorite podcasting platform. The show is hosted by Bodhi Opapula, Kaylee Horowitz, and Andy Gibson. You can find the show at Liberal Artists Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks to White Hot for performing the theme song Reflect, which can be found on freebeats.io. Now, I'm off to go exploring, and maybe, just maybe, I'll find a sheep that I can call my own. Good day.
The balloons got you there, buddy.
I guess, like, whoever is the mystical wizard inside of my MacBook that keeps popping up with all of these emoji reacts on my webcam, at least he's a Venture Brothers fan.
I like the idea that your FBI agent is just having fun with the emojis from time to time. He's listening and he's like, yeah, fuck yeah, Venture Brothers. And he hits the balloons.
I would like it better if it's the lowest ranked guy, like a fucking Melvin or something, and he keeps accidentally, while he's reaching for the Cheetos, hitting the react button, where it's just like, oh shit, oh no, I hit the balloons again. Melvin! Oh wait, there's one more thing to say.
There's one more thing to say.
Brick Frog!
Okay.
Okay, I'm stopping.